Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making this bag, and I'm basically just going to go through it the way I normally make things with some notations for you guys, and I guess advice on how I do certain things, how to read patterns, understand the instructions of these patterns when you buy them at the store. So I will be going through this kind of quick, but this is basically just a watch me make it type video. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I hope this is helpful to anyone who will be making a bag, or particular this pattern number. So this is the Stylish Tote from Simplicity. It's pattern 1387. This is a fabric that I will be using. I chose, it's kind of a lightweight cotton canvasy type of material. I chose this one because I thought it would be interesting to show, and a lot of people who start off making clothes or totes or whatever will use a directional type fabric. A lot of times they'll just start putting the patterns wherever when you're cutting. So when you make your bag, the patterns are going like they're not matching up. So I do want to instill some good habits when sewing. It's very important. So this is with a directional fabric. So as you see, when I start placing my pattern pieces, they will all be in, a vertical direction. So that way I know when it's time to sew, my whole bag will have all the little sails facing upwards, and it will be neat and leveled and lined, and it won't look amateurish, I hope. So let's get started. Okay, so now I'm gonna start cutting. As you can see, my sails are all directional. I'm gonna be placing side, which is number 3 of the pattern of pattern A. It says to cut 2, so I have it on the fold. I don't have it on the fold, but I have it folded, so that way it will be double. You always wanna cut your patterns with the printed side in, right sides together. So this is this part right here. I was thinking to make it a little bit cooler looking, I'm going to do a contrasting fabric. So I'm going to use this for the side, and this and also for the inside pocket that will be in the bag, which if you pull out your front and back number 1 pattern, this will be in the contrasting fabric, which this is the front and back piece. That's what we're talking about. And it has placement for your pocket, which is on the inside. So I thought it would be kind of cool to have the sails on the inside, kind of like a interesting little pop of color when you open your bag up, because I did choose a white lining for my bag to match. So let me move this over. Now when you do your patterns, I do want to say for those beginners, they do sell a spray called, what is it called? Like sticky patterns, or pattern spray or something. They sell it at Joann's. If it makes your life any easier, you spray it like on the back of your pattern, and it's not permanent. It's like, a temporary adhesive just to keep it here so it's nice and crisp, and you can spray it and stick it on there and cut your patterns. Or I just do it like whatever style. I just pin my, here, I just need one of these. Hold on, let me get one layer. I just pin my patterns. Or if you like using rotary cutters, I find they also sell pattern weights, which are just little weights that you put on your pattern. If you want to use your rotary cutter, go ahead. But this is how I've grown accustomed to doing things. So you figure out what you want to do. Remember, you have the spray, pins, or pattern weights to hold your pattern pieces down while you go ahead and cut. And now let's go ahead and cut. Or let me finish pinning this and then we'll cut. And also take note of your pattern pieces. If it just says cut 1 of fabric, you cut 1 of fabric. In this case, I will be cutting 1 of the fabric, 1 of the lining, 1 of the stabilizers. This one I will be cutting 2 of the fabric, which it's folded, 2 of the fusible fleece, which all these things are they tell you what to buy on the back of the pattern, so you can so you know what to buy, and it tells you how much and all that stuff. So I have my fusible fleece, so that's what I'm gonna be cutting out of. Fusible fleece, 2 of the lining, which my lining is over there, and 2 of the stabilizer. Now I can cut. Can I get a better cut with these? I need to get these sharpened. Oops, you know what? I didn't even notice this. I'd cut it off. So I'll just cut and fix that as I go. I like using these scissors sometimes because I can get longer, straighter cuts rather than this. Sometimes I keep doing it, I tend to get slightly crooked. So I like these, and I got these actually at Harbor Freight Tools, which is oddly enough a very nice secondary place to buy your sewing supplies and stuff rather than like, you know, Joann's or Hobby Lobby. They have excellent scissors. They have, what else? Just all kinds of interesting things, clamps, like if you need clamps for when you're doing leather work, like it's awesome. I love Harbor Freights. So, or Harbor Freight Tools, I'm sorry. So here, now I'm gonna cut my 2 for the side. As you'll notice in some of my cuts and things, I tend to go back and forth with different scissors. Again, with these big ones, I don't know, I just do what I think feels more comfortable and more common sense to me at the moment while I'm cutting. If you only have small scissors, then just go ahead and do it that way. Don't think that there's only one particular way to do this, because you know there isn't. So okay, I have those 2 cut out. Let me put away my fabric. I won't be needing that anymore. So let's finish getting all our stuff together. So now we already cut our fabric, so let's go down the list here. Cut fabric. Oh, on number 3, I'm gonna need to cut my fusible fleece. So let's put this to the side. Let me open up my package and let me lie this on the fusible fleece. So I have my first piece pinned out. I'm going to need to cut 2 of the fusible fleece, so I have it folded and pinned. And for number 1, front and back, they want you to cut 1 on the fold. I might not be able to do that. I might not have enough. I do have some more in the back. But with fleece and interfacing and stuff like that, I find you can still kind of puzzle and Frankenstein pieces together because you're not going to see it. You know, it's there to provide like a structure and, you know, softness, squishiness to your bag. So it really doesn't matter what it looks like on the inside. It's going to get covered up with lining anyways. So that's okay. But since I do have enough here for 1 cut, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out and then Frankenstein my piece when I still need to cut that one out of the contrasting fabric. And then since this is fusible, before you start cutting, put it right sides together. And how you can tell the gluey part is when you look at it and you kind of mess with it in the light. If you can kind of see that it glistens, there's like a bit of sparkle, then you know that's the glue side, and you know that's the correct side to put face down on your fabric when it comes time to iron it. So keep that in mind, okay? Yeah, it's a train, buddy. See, I'm gonna keep all my pieces because I know I'm gonna have to Frankenstein some stuff in a bit. So that's that. Take this out. Now let's move on to the next one. So now we got our fusible fleece, and now we got to do one of the lining, two of the lining. So bust out with your lining that you have chosen, which I chose this lightweight, I think it was anti-static lining. And I'm going to fold it right sides together. Remember, always keep that good habit of doing that. Because when you start sewing clothes, you're going to take all those habits of sewing that you learned from making bags and little kitchen stuff, and it really matters when you start making clothes. You got to have these habits already intact, or else you're going to have some projects that are just going to drive you nuts. What else? Okay, so let's put this down. Two of lining. Okay. And notice this line here. And then you see this is called the selvage, where it comes off the machine, where it has all the little dots and it looks funky on the edge. You want to kind of keep that parallel to your selvage. Is that straight? Okay, yeah. So now I just pin that. Because you never want to put a pattern diagonally, like at a 45-degree angle, if it doesn't state that with the arrows. Because later on, when you start hanging, let's say you're hanging your pieces all over the place while you're still cutting out stuff. When you cut stuff on the bias, or in other words, on the diagonal, it causes how the fibers are woven. If you cut it on the diagonal, now look, see how my hands see this way? There is really no movement. But if I turn it this way, my hands open. So when you cut it on the diagonal, now if it's hanging somewhere, the fibers start to loosen up, and your piece can grow. So you might end up with a piece that did match at first with the other parts of your pattern pieces, and now it doesn't. Of course, there are times when there's a call for cutting things on the bias, like bias cut dresses, or things like, when you're doing collars on clothing, because those things need to have that movement and that, I guess wonkiness is the wrong word to use, but that movement, that ease of movement, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And also, when you're cutting, you never want to include the selvage when you're cutting, because it just looks bad. So I just toss that away. I totally need to get these scissors sharpened. I used to be able to do it in like one cut. That's why I love them, but I still love them because I can still do one cut with chiffons and stuff. It's still sharp enough for that, but that's what I want to do. So we got two of our lining. Put that off to the side, hang it. Oh no. Okay, and then now I have my fold over here. This right here, oh, let me see, oops, can't see it. See how this line goes? I mean, it tells you right here, but if you see this on any pattern universally, you'll know that this means to put something on the fold. So that's what we're gonna do here. I'm going to place this on the fold of my fabric. And all it says is cut one on the lining. So that's all we're gonna cut. I mean, cut one on the fold of the lining. My bad, I'm sorry. I'm gonna skip the other scissors and I'm just gonna do here. Before you cut, if you have like excess like this, just chop it off. It gets annoying sometimes. All right, boom, that one's ready. Last one, cut one of lining. So I'm just gonna plop that open. Again, pay attention to your arrows, and that's gonna go right parallel with my selvage. Okay, toss that. Also, just real quick, one of the materials on the package is some kind of leather or vinyl, and I'll show you what that is right here. This is the pattern piece for that, which is these little things that kind of cover up the handle when you put it on. So it says cut 4, because there's gonna be 1, 2, and then on the back 3, 4, right? So for this, I would not pin it, nor would I fold it, because leather is just so heavy. You're just gonna give yourself a really rough time trying to do that. So in this case, what I like to do is on the wrong side, because I'm gonna want this side to show. I'm just going to lay this down, and I'm just going to make my markings. And of course on this one, since you're not going to be folding anything over, you're just stitching it straight down. Try and take your time more on this one than your other ones, because you want to cut it out. Oh, let me raise it up. You want to cut it out perfect to your pattern. So just trace 4 of these and then carefully cut them out so you have perfect looking little patch shapes like this, just like this. 4 of them, and then cut them out. So now we're on to that. I already cut out my little pieces here. Got 4 of them. Now this one is cut 1 of stabilizer. On my number 3 pattern, I have to cut 2 of stabilizer, and then this other one is just the other piece. The front piece was cut 1 on the fold of the stabilizer. But again, I'm pretty sure I bought enough, but if not, another piece you can Frankenstein or whatever. Doesn't matter. This is all fusible. No one will know it's inside of your bag, so do not freak out. It is okay. You will still have a gorgeous bag. So let's open this up. This doesn't want to stay. Okay. So cut 2 of the stabilizer. So I'm going to open this up for my number 3 piece enough to fold. And again, let's get this right sides together. With this one, it's pretty obvious, again, what is the gluey iron-on part, because it glistens. So just kind of fold it enough. Remember, be conservative. Don't do a cut like this and you still have all this. If you fold, you gotta you gotta conserve. You know what I'm saying? Just open this up. See, I still have some here. I'm just gonna fold it down a little bit more. There, that's good right there. And then I'm just going to cut the excess off. And since this one's not on the fold, I'm just gonna give it a little bit of give so that way my scissors can go through that area. And then just cut it. Now, let's do our pocket. Actually, you know what? I think just to save stabilizer, I think I'm just gonna Frankenstein the pocket, which I'll show you when I get to the ironing part. Again, right sides together, and this one has to be cut on the fold. So again, I have all this space to just kind of fold it back just a little bit. That is my one of stabilizer. Now for my number one piece, I still need to go get myself my contrasting fabric just to cut that out. But are we done? Yeah, we're pretty much done cutting out everything except for that one piece, which you will see in a bit. It'll just magically appear. I won't film that one. What else? Oh yeah. Just some mentions In the instructions of the bag, which you will not see me do, and I kind of want to explain that now to avoid confusion later, because I'm just going to go through it really quick later. Where is this number? Letter A. There's a piece you cut out, which is, where is it? It's number 5, no, it's number 4 for number A, which is this piece over here. It's this long piece. That's going to be our handle. They want you to put like a stabilizer, where is it? A stabilizer and sew it down. But that's if you're cutting the fabric and making a handle from it. You need that stiffness. I went ahead and I kind of cheated, and I just got a nylon, which I don't need to do any of that. The only thing we're going to do at the end when we do cut our handles is I'm going to show you with a lighter, with the nylon. See how they, at the store, they put tape over it to prevent it from fraying? You're just going to go over it real quick with like a lighter just to seal the edges, and that's pretty much all I'm going to do for that. So remember that when I'm going through this, and if you're working on this pattern or any similar type of pattern and you don't see me stitching stabilizer or making the handle, it's because I just cheated and bought you know, that nylon cording or whatever. So yeah, so before we start ironing, let's look over our instructions. Bag A, it says apply stabilizer to front and back number 1 and side number 3. Those are the pattern number sections. With right sides together, stitch sides to front and back, matching small dots. So just with our pattern pieces, this is our side A. And this is our front, correct? Going to, let's see, put them together. Picture. Matching dots. Let's see, where are our dots? There it is. So if you look at this, they want you to pin it. Okay? So you're going to pin, when you cut it out, pin it like this. Don't worry about this little section down here. It's from this corner to the end. So once you have all your pieces cut out and everything's fused and all that stuff together, then you're going to pin it this way and sew it right sides together so it comes out, and you're going to do it on this side too. Okay? Okay, so the directions say they want us to do the stabilizer first on patterns 1 and 3, which is front and side of our tote. So I have my 2 pieces that I cut out. These are the sides, and these are the 2 stabilizer pieces for the sides. So we're going to fuse all that together. On my iron, I am not turning on the steam. I'm just having it dry heat. So see, I have my glistening part. I'm going to put that down on the wrong side of my sail fabric, and I'm just going to line everything up. And then I'm going to start ironing it. In some parts you will need to like kind of pick it up and hop it around, because the stabilizing right side is kind of rough, so the iron kind of wants to pick it up. In my case, I don't know, your iron might be nice and beautiful, but mine isn't. And if it's not hot enough to where it's gluing it down, turn it up a little bit, and then just keep going over it until there's no more pieces that are separating or curled away from each other. It has to be as one. Just do this. Okay. I had to put this on my highest setting because it's not taking right away. And if you need to kind of leave it in one space, leave it in one space so it starts to stick. So just do this for your number 1 and number 3 pieces. Get that stabilizer in, and then we'll look over the directions on what we have to do next. So now that I have the stabilizer on both my front and back pieces. I also went ahead a little bit and I did it on the stabilizer. This will, it doesn't tell you to put the stabilizer on the pocket until instruction number 5, but it's just best to kind of read ahead and see what else you need to iron as far as the same material, which was the stabilizer in this case, just because I hate turning the iron off and on, off and on. So it's just better to knock it all out while you're there. And also, let's go ahead and read our directions really quick. I do want to make note of this because I don't want to confuse you. And remember I was saying about the handle. So let's just read down here. It says for number 2, fuse stabilizer to wrong side of handle. So 2 is talking about the handle. 3 is also still talking about the handle. But remember, I'm using my nylon cord, so I will be skipping 2 and 3. So please don't get confused. If you are not making your own handle, then by all means, please go ahead and continue with these steps. And here are the diagrams for number 2 and number 3. Now I'm going to pin I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to pin my front and back. I'm going to sew them. So I'm going to return right now to number 4. So I'm going to turn the bag out and press. So that's on the list right now to do. And again, here's where I kind of went ahead to number 5 and I apply the stabilizer to my pocket. So that's where we're at right now. So I'm going to pin it for you and then I'm just going to sew it, and when I come back I will have part of my bag already sewn, turned inside out. So we'll move that.
Hi guys, Chris here. Thanks for watching my video. Here's another one which you may have missed. Hello and welcome to the cast of Duncan Stunt Show. Our contestants are Matt Schnell.
See, so you're not confused. This flat part of the side and this longer part that I had told you to skip earlier when I was doing the mock pinning with the 2 paper pattern pieces, this is going to go like that. You see what I mean? And then I'm going to pin it this way.
It's Matt's first. A very controlled handle. Let's see that again. But what do the judges think? Good scores from all 3 judges. Get next.
So now my whole bag is sewn all the way around. As you can see, I joined that flat part here. So now what I want to do is just clean it up. Just kind of trim close to the stitch line. Make it a little neat. Anywhere that you see a corner, a 90 degree angle, just cut a little triangle off that, so when you open it up it will be a very nice point where your bag is. So just trim. Where's the side? So just trimming it here. just clean it up at this point. If you have any long threads, you know, just go ahead and cut those off, make it clean. And then as per the directions, once you turn the bag inside out, then go ahead and press. If you have, and I would suggest this if you really want to get into sewing, you know, you could press it on your iron, but if you have like a tailor's ham or something like that, you know, there's many different accessories that you can buy to use with your iron to press things, then I would go ahead and do that. I have a tailor's ham, so I'm going to be sticking it in these corners where it's kind of rounded, so that way I don't get any creases by accident when I'm pressing, because it's just kind of an odd thing, because if I press this here, then I transfer heat to back here, and look at how it would have made a crease. So just go ahead and do that, press it, which is what I'm going to do. And this is my bag as of right now. And then just slightly getting ahead of ourselves. Where is it? Okay, so I'm still on number 4. So I'm going to turn the bag right side out, press, just like I said. And then it said on outside, pin handles to bag. So for reference, here is my handle pattern. Again, I didn't cut it out because I didn't need it. I've lit my candle because I was going to use a lighter, but my lighter cannot be found at this moment. So I'm just going to use this candle. So let me push that so you can all see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to measure this out and cut. Measure this out and cut. So it says cut 2. I had a little bit left over, but that's okay. Let me bring my candle around. And then, as I was saying with these nylon straps, see how on this one where I took off the Scotch tape, how it's frayed like a ton? So before we put the handles on the bag, I'm just going to go over it really quick. Just kind of melt it. I don't know if you can see that. Can I get this? So it's melted. So after that, it won't fray anymore. Don't leave it on too long. You don't want it smoking, just enough to melt the plasticky part of it. And again, this step is not in the instructions, but this is something that I do a lot. See how that's all melty? But again, you will not see that part because they are being covered by our little leather patches, as the pattern calls them, little patches. So now these are prepped to put the handle on my bag. And in the directions it says once you place the handles on the bag and put them in place, then you just glue this over them. You're not necessarily sewing them, which is good, which is easy for you, easy for me. So you have a fabric glue. I'm going to use a hot glue gun because I am out of fabric glue and or like a E6000, which they do make E6000 and sewing hot glue sticks, and you can find those at your craft store. Yeah, they actually make hot glue gun sticks that are made for sewing, and it specifically says so on the package, which is pretty cool. But for the moment, you know, I'm going to use regular glue sticks, and it'll be just fine. So let me take my bag over here and press it, and I will be right back. Okay, so I've pressed my bag. It's gorgeous. Another habit you should be getting into every time you make something is once you sew something, press the seams out. Sew, press, it. make your work look a lot more neater and more professional. And yeah, that's something that'll make you happy. So just do that. So now on number 4, we'll continue reading. It says on outside pin handles to bag, matching dots. I don't see dots on this front one. Maybe they're on the side one, but these notches are good enough for me. And if you look at the bag, they're sitting high up in this area anyways. So we're going to take each of our handles and we're going to stitch them in place. So, you know, if you don't want to mark your fabric as I'm doing, I just place my number 1 back on top aligned with the edge. And then with these notches right here, I just stuck a pin in so I know where to put it. And then I'm just going to put that there and pin my handle into place. And then if you have seen my Capri Sun handbag, I do stress that when we're putting on handles, I do mention to, when you sew stuff in like that, to do the what do you call it, the X. So please do sew it like that. Even if it's a small square, it doesn't have to be a giant square with an X through it. That'll ensure that you do have reinforcement for all that stress and tension you will be putting on the handles at that part of the bag when you are carrying heavy things. And then right now I'm gonna, see this? I'm just gonna trim this while I'm here. All right, lovely. Again, for my placement, I'm just going to put this back on top. I'm gonna get some random pins and I'm just gonna stick it where the notches are. Remove, then take my handles and then just line them up right here, pin, and sew. Again, I am going to kind of get ahead of myself here, and I do want to let you know at this point, after I sew my X's and squares here, as per the instructions, I am going to come back over with my hot glue gun and cover them as such. So when I come back in the video, you will see all 4 glued on for the handles, and then it will be the next part of the video.